Well, before we start this, Richard, happy Easter.
Well, thank you very much.
Other brands are available.
Amazing. Yeah.
But I thought, given that the 10th Doctor has a gold-wrapped Easter egg in the special, it'd be appropriate to...
Oh, is this one gold-wrapped as well?
Yeah. I thought we could have like a screen-accurate Planet of the Dead thing
dedication.
going on. So,
wow.
So there we go. This is what we'll be talking about today, pretty much.
I was wondering when I was watching it last night, actually, before we did this. There we go, yeah. Because like when he's introduced in the story, like you see his like feet, don't you? Like get on the bus.
Yeah. And then his psychic paper.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking, how is he holding an Easter egg that was open all that time?
He's very good.
He's very good. Big pockets or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, there we go. Thank you very much.
We can crack that open.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do the review. Have a nibble.
Yeah. So, Planet of the Dead.
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah. First of all, Miss Miles.
Oh yeah,
more videos.
Hiya. Yeah. We've been. It's been a while.
It's been a while. Isn't
I think the last one we did was New Year.
Either Daleks, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, when we were raving about Sea Devils, which we'll be doing later on. But
yes, once again.
But yeah, I think it's been a while. We've both had COVID since. We've gone to the BFI.
Yes.
We've done all sorts since.
Yes.
But we've not actually sat down for this in a good few months.
So what we thought we'd do today, which is the first of a new batch of videos, is go back in time. And now what is it? It's 13 years, isn't it? Which seems absolutely mad.
I feel old.
It's 13 years. But
yeah. A child born on Planet of the Dead is now off to secondary school, which is insane. That's just absolutely mad.
Well, anyway, yeah, we thought we'd go back and cover Planet of the Dead. Obviously, the only sort of other Easter special, because obviously we've got them coming up, Legends of the Sea Devils, in probably like a week or less when this goes out, and just do a sort of bit of a rip-off of the review of Death, really, and just sort of give our thoughts on this story, because I don't think either of us had really watched it for a while before this happened.
No, I think you're right.
A number of years.
I genuinely can't remember the last time I watched this.
It's not one that I'm sort of ever tempted to go back to, really.
It's not one of those ones that you think, you know what, I'll stick on.
Compared to the other specials, I think it's probably the one that I've seen the least.
You're right. Yeah,
we'll get onto that, I suppose, won't we? So, I mean, first things first. Let's go back even further and try and remember what the first sort of murmurings about this episode were back in. I guess it would have been like Christmas Day, 2008, after Next Doctor, didn't we?
It would have popped up at the end credits, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think I remember that and just seeing Planet of the Dead and thinking, ooh, that sounds mysterious.
Very ominous.
Probably not quite the same idea of what we ended up with, that I had then, but that's to be expected, I suppose. But then after that, of course, because the weird thing about this story, isn't it, that they hadn't actually filmed any of it when they revealed that title.
Really?
Yeah, it was all filmed in January and February, I think, 2009.
Sure.
Because of David Tennant's commitments at the RSC or whatever.
That's true, actually.
You don't know that?
Well, no, I remember, now you say that, I remember reading, because this is one of the few complete histories I've got.
Yeah.
And I remember reading through, and I was like, that is a tight turnaround.
It was mad.
Because I remember, I was making, when I read this, I was making one of my figure adventures at the time, and I was like, they did a quicker turnaround on Planet of the Dead than they did on my action figure adventure. Yeah. So yeah, I remember it was a quick thing. It really was,
and especially if you compare that to stuff nowadays. I mean, like the next Easter special, which was obviously filmed like nearly a year ago.
Yeah.
It's mad. So yeah, but where I was going with that, is that obviously we didn't have any photos or filming photos or anything to go off until literally when January when they started filming whatever, and we got a couple of photos of David Tennant and Michelle Ryan. We've got it up on the screen over there. Infamous photos, I would say. Sort of, I think this is when they announced that she was in it.
Yes.
And they sort of started filming, and even like since I first saw them, I've always thought these photos look a bit odd because clearly they've got like a flash on or something. I guess they're like in the bus and so it's like an enclosed space, but they just look a bit sort of artificial.
Yeah, it's very like on the fly. It's almost like they've just come on set and been like, we just need to get a quick one for the Daily Mirror. Do you mind if we just snap this pic?
Bizarre, but very nostalgic.
I do remember that picture being in Doctor Who Adventures. We've got a few of the magazines
here. I'm sure I do, yes.
And one of the, I think, I can't remember when that picture was released, or maybe even before that.
Okay.
But there was some news about the specials. A big thing was made that the Doctor's going to be travelling without the TARDIS.
Without the TARDIS?
Without the TARDIS was made a big thing. Now, I think obviously that was spinning on the fact that he's travelling on a bus for this episode, and the TARDIS, the TARDIS got nothing to do with this. It pops up at the end. But I remember that was a thing. It was made a big thing. It was like the Doctor won't just be travelling alone; he'll be travelling without the TARDIS. Obviously, that's less relevant when it comes to Waters of Mars and End of Time and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think in reference to Planet of the Dead, that was a key thing. I remember it being in Doctor Who Adventures. They always had a little section at the front, which was like, here's a bit of news.
Bits, you know,
Oh, Russell Davis has said that Russell Tovey should be the next Doctor or whatever. It was like one of those little things, little bubble. I should have tried to track that down. If I find it, I'll send you a picture of it so that we can put that in the video.
I'm gonna work it out to open this.
Just give it a good smash.
Oh.
Just go for it. Yay!
Yikes. Okay.
There we go.
That was not quite as planned, but anyway, there we go. We'll sort ourselves out.
We'll go from there.
Planet of the Dead. Obviously, after that, we then got the trailer and then the episode itself. The one thing I always remember from the trailer is like that shot of the Stingrays, like coming towards the camera, like the swarm of them.
I remember it being a very dramatic kind of trailer. One that.
Quite blockbuster, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, that's exactly the word I was looking for.
All those specials, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, really sort of, this is a movie-length kind of Doctor Who story. This is what this episode is going for, almost. So I do remember that being a big feature of those trailers. There wasn't a lot of, here's a fun jaunt with the Doctor going in a bus. It was, wow, this is epic, you know. We've got this sort of travelling to this massive landscape, and obviously a big thing with this episode, it's in HD.
Yes,
for the
which
first
again,
time.
something which I imagine for both of us as a kid would have gone completely over our heads.
I remember it being mentioned, but yeah, you're right. It didn't mean anything.
Certainly
to
for me, I mean, like, and even I don't imagine I would have been watching it on BBC One HD because, like, even now my parents don't really know the difference between.
Well, it's almost like to a lesser extent. You know how people. In the 70s, John Pertwee still wasn't their first Doctor in colour. It was just because they had their black and white TVs.
I mean, this must have been it. I must have watched like Series 5, presumably in standard edition definition.
100%.
As well.
I
go back now and
TV,
sort of see like the like Dr. TARDIS and stuff, and I think, God, that looks so crisp on the Blu-ray and steelbook and stuff. And same thing with this as well, obviously. So yeah, I'm not sure whether I'd actually seen it in HD before watching it now, which is interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I watched it in a big before this review. Watched it on a big HD telly, my girlfriend's, and that was. You're right. It's weird how much it stands out. Like this is a very different thing for Doctor Who, and in fact, I think it was originally they were going to do HD before the specials, if I'm right in thinking.
Okay.
I think they did HD tests around Series 2 time.
Yeah,
with
I think
the Dalek
it was discussed,
and some bits,
wasn't it? But they just couldn't.
They didn't go ahead
get
with
it to work in the finance and stuff. But yeah, obviously they go all out with this episode, and obviously in terms of the locations as well.
Yeah.
To sort of to match that thing of going up to HD to give them something nice to show off in HD with the Dubai locations. That'll be an interesting thing to discuss as well, I suppose, before we get on to the episode itself. Because do you think it was worth going to Dubai for? Well, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, but. Because obviously they had all the trouble with the bus, didn't they? Like getting broken and
of course, obviously that wasn't intentional.
Yeah.
Which thinking back seems really weird that they thought
that was a problem.
Because
it just
I just
you don't even notice.
You don't even question it. You don't even think, oh wow, that's a bit bad. You know, you think that makes total sense. Of course, a bus going through a wormhole might have a bit of damage sustained. I do think it was worth them going to Dubai because. You look at the shots they get there; it is stunning. I think now they could easily achieve that. They could easily achieve that in a studio. But I think for the time and for this is HD.
This is time. That's totally fair enough.
It totally worked out. Although you're right, actually. I mean,
ultimately,
is there much?
Because like you look at some shots like where it's just the sand in the background, like a close up or whatever, and like. This could be anywhere, sort of, you know. And you do get what you mean about the sort of bigger shots.
They only really use the location where the bus is, maybe a sand dune where the Doctor and Christina go to look at the swarm and then get collected by the Tritivore. There's the shot when they see the Tritivore spaceship, which is obviously CG. So you kind of do think, well, maybe was it definitely worth it? But I think for the
time,
the cinematography that they get there. It was worth it in my eyes, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, because it's just interesting, isn't it, to sort of think about it in terms of, like you say, today's standards and how Flux, obviously, they couldn't go abroad, but
they achieved the same kind of
exactly
level.
The same sort of thing. And the Ghost Monument as well is another sort of
that's true,
similar point of reference there, I suppose, in terms of a big sandy desert that's somewhere over in the Middle East or whatever. Yeah, so that's an interesting one. I mean, I think I remember as well reading, because obviously they had trouble there, like with sandstorms and stuff. You look at Confidential and things, and they all had like headscarves on. I think I remember reading as well they had problems with the Tritivore outfits. The actors inside were getting a bit too hot or something.
No, it doesn't surprise me.
Doesn't surprise me. No.
I would not like to be you right now.
And I think that's why, because they don't appear too much actually in the desert or on the planets. Sure. They appear a bit more in the ship.
It reminds me of a fan film that me and my cousin once did. We were on holiday in Corfu. Corfu's very hot, and we were like, oh yeah, the monster should be like, oh yeah, these guys with like bandages around their face. And it was like, why of all the places to choose, why do you do like these big masks and things? So yeah, I was like,
oh gosh,
I can feel the kind of the heat coming off those Tritivore masks. It would not have been pleasant, I imagine, when they got back to the hotel.
Not.
So yeah, but worth it, I think, for the vistas
absolutely,
and the landscapes and things.
Very different thing to do.
Beats Cardiff. Definitely.
Beats Cardiff.
One thing we have forgot as well, just to briefly mention as well, is this is the 200th story as well.
Yes.
That was a big thing made of it. Obviously, we had the number 200 bus, yes, and there was the Doctor Who magazine 200 Golden Moments released around this time as well, which was a treasure trove for me.
Yeah.
I got so many, like, around the Planet of the Dead, I got so many magazines and merchandise and things around that. But yeah, 200 was made a very big thing, I think, within the whole kind of the way it was marketed of like this is the 200th story and here it is in HD and all that sort of stuff. You know, it worked very well for that.
Quite a lot of the early scenes, it felt quite Moffat to me in terms of like Christina feels like a sort of Irene Adler-esque.
She does.
Character,
she doesn't feel of that Russell T Davies era.
It's an interesting, because talking about Christina as well. I mean, the way I see it now, and obviously as a kid, it wasn't really something that occurred to me. But there's quite a lot to talk about with Christina. But one of the things that I think now is that she's very clearly this sort of epitome of that like female companion from the RTD era, original RTD era. Like with Rose and Martha, and less so with Donna, I suppose. But she's like the culmination of that sort of
feisty,
and love interest and all that sort of stuff. She's just like
that is true,
completely up for it, isn't she?
Oh my god, the kiss at the end! I forgot about that, and it happens, and I'm like, why is this happening? Why is this happening? I think it's a Russell thing. He's like, oh, it's got to have a bit of a romance, bit of a kiss.
Fair enough, I suppose. But,
it just comes out. Why is there a kiss at the end of Planet of the Dead and there's not the one at the end of Eve of the Daleks? It's like, of all the different, if we could swap those around, that would make more narrative sense.
I mean, it's a weird one with her because, like, what do you think of her as a character, as a companion?
Well, that's something I wanted to chat about, because I think, as a character, I think she's pretty unlikable.
Yeah.
But is that the point?
It is a weird one because, like, I remember watching it last night and even thinking about it when I was a kid as well and stuff. Like, it's a weird decision to have a jewel thief or like criminal, essentially,
as a
give or take, like as a companion,
like an anti-hero almost.
Yeah, and like in the episode itself, like because it doesn't really depend on any of that sort of stuff, really. I guess she's sort of quite divorced from that lifestyle. Like, you don't get her being like, yeah, she's a bit unlikable. We don't get her sort of being cruel or criminal or like any sort of stuff like that. You get hints of it, like when she wants to steal a crystal or whatever from the ship and things like that, and then when she has to sort of sacrifice the cup of Athelstan, whatever it's called.
Which, can I just say, in that opening sequence, the guards, how extra is that security in that facility for a cup?
Yeah,
like, it's just amazing. Ridiculous. The way they had the whole thing of, them all lining up and the positions, all that sort of stuff. I was just like, how is that? Why? But anyway, I know it's for TV, but still.
They could have done a sort of Robin Hood type thing with her, where she's like, she's got good intentions, and she sort of had a bit of a. Does she have a U-turn in terms of her sort of like life philosophies and stuff? Probably not really.
No, I think it's hinted at, isn't it? But it's not
hinted at, but not followed through really. And she gets to go off at the end with the bus and sort of just carry on, doing what she does. I mean, it's a weird one because, like, obviously, at the end of the day, it's a TV show and it's a story. It's like it doesn't really matter much, but it's just a slightly weird choice to have a jewel thief
in a kid's.
Exactly.
As a potential companion almost.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
No, I do think that sort of did stand out as an element that didn't necessarily work and could have been used in a better way, in terms of maybe there was a reason in a character for doing all this. Maybe it's like, oh, I didn't know you had this going on at home, or you had this as a motivator. Whereas it just turns out that she's she's just a middle class woman.
Yeah,
who,
they sort of hint that like it runs in the family, and so she just sort of like inherited that lifestyle. And there's that line, isn't there, like about I do it for the adventure rather than the money. Like the doctor's like, why? Like if you want money, you go and rob a bank, and you don't do that. You do it for the lifestyle or whatever. So it's hinted at, but I think they could have sort of committed to that a little bit more.
Well, I think originally the companion, temporary companion, was going to be the bus, the tour bus guide.
I've forgotten this.
Do you remember reading this in Writer's Tale?
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I think he who shall not be named, the other writer involved in this episode.
Of course, yes.
Wanted it to be a sort of a tour guide, sort of a bouncy kind of.
That's just reminding me now. This story began life as like a sequel to a new adventure or something, didn't it?
With the I've forgotten the name.
Cimarron or something, or no,
something begin with the C.
Something like that, isn't it?
Oh my god, that is gonna
something
Chidaki or.
It's gonna be like a big space opera, wasn't it? And then
it was.
Tone it down a bit.
They were the monsters from Well Mannered War or something like that. They were going to be part of it, the bus. And
that's mad.
Either the bus was still a part of it and it ends up in a space war instead of the desert, or something like that. I can't remember, but I do think this went through a lot of incarnations before it reached.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting as well to think about it in terms of obviously we've had to bring it back to the current Easter special and even the Eve of the Daleks as well, New Year's special.
Yeah.
And like how it seems to always be the case that towards the end of a Doctor's era, there are always like some sort of last minute behind the scenes like changes or a rush to get everything working and to get everything together on screen. Obviously we had that with the sort of the tight schedule and tight turnaround and stuff. Both these specials, I think both Eve and Led into the Sea Devils sound like they were written quite quickly and all that sort of stuff wasn't. So it's it's just part and parcel of what happens really. You can't get around it really. But one other thing I noticed that I didn't notice as a kid for obvious reasons is like the number of references to other stories in this, like classic series references and stuff.
What's your most niche one that you noticed? Because I've got one here.
I think I noted all of them down, so let's have a look. There was there was the K1 one, the giant robot, obviously.
The giant. I love that it's called the giant robot, like the target novelisation. It's not just the robot; it's the giant robot.
And things like I had a friend once. She called me Spaceman for Donna.
Of course.
What else was there? I'm trying to think.
One of the nichest ones I found was the Doctor's little device that he's got, the one with the little dish.
Oh right, yeah.
It detects rondium particles. Boy, I sound like such a nerd. Which the third Doctor makes a device in the Time Warrior to detect them when all the detectors are disappearing through wormholes and things like that. So the third Doctor makes a rondium sensor, and the 10th Doctor's device detects those rondium particles.
Oh, that was the other one. Like, the other main one I think was like the reference back to Stolen Earth. Like I think one of the guys, Barclay or someone, gets off the bus and it's like, it's not like last time when the planets were in the sky or something. Those were the three sort of main ones I think.
Recent and also past, kind of ones for the classic fans and ones.
A nice sort of mixture there. It's nice. I mean, in terms of other stuff, let's have a look. Yeah, well, random thing I noticed is there's, I can't remember when it was now, but that scene with Christian and the Doctor when they're introducing each other to each other. And she's like, "What's your name, Doctor? Not your rank." And obviously, in the next story, we get state your name, rank, and intention with Adelaide Brooke,
Doctor Fun,
and just little bits like that. I mean, I noticed as well, like it's a random thing, but like the mention of an MVQ. I think Barclay's doing an engineering MVQ or something, and that's obviously what Ryan's doing, like an MVQ or something, isn't he?
He's proto Ryan,
And the similar thing as well. Like I'd never noticed this before, but obviously, Planet of the Dead and Resolution are both connected by a phone call to Unit.
True.
As a little thing there.
Yeah, but obviously there's this certain amount more involvement from Unit.
There's more involvement in this one. Yeah, absolutely. A nice little parallel. Having now watched Gavin and Stacey, Malcolm reminded me a lot of Uncle Bryn, which as a kid wasn't something that ever occurred to me.
And what do you think of Malcolm as well?
As a character?
I so funny because when I first watched it, I would have been 9 years old. Yeah. And I was like, this is such a childish character. This character's really over the top.
Wow.
Just not vibing with me. I watch it now I absolutely love him. He's great. Lee Evans.
Like he's a comedian, isn't he?
Yeah. He's a real Cockney comedian. Like that's his thing. He's very Cockney, very London based. So it's a bold choice for him to go for a Welsh accent in this, really such a separation.
Because
Because obviously, people kind of get those comedians involved in Doctor Who because like, oh, that's your shtick. Let's get you to do your thing.
Do your thing.
But clearly here he was like, no, I'm gonna mad Welsh scientist. I think that's gonna work well. And he's brilliant. He's really good. He's called Dr. Taylor as well, which of
course,
for me, a tailor. That's very very prevalent. Yeah. But yeah, no, I absolutely love him. How has he not come back? How has Malcolm not?
Yeah, I know.
Even just like in a scene or just a reference.
Yeah.
Oh no, he has been referenced.
He's been referenced, I think, in
Is it Day of
the
the
Doctor
Doctor?
or something, wasn't
Yeah.
it? But yeah, bring him back.
Bring him back.
Spin-off.
Put
Don't
him in-
mind Christina. Give him his big finish spin-off.
I would much rather see Malcolm off the back of this.
Yeah.
And I love how his final scene is so wholesome and beautiful. It's not this kind of, the Doctor going, oh, I salute you, Malcolm, you've done a great service to the human race. He's just saying, I love you, Doctor, I love you. It's just great. I think it's a perfect way to end his little character
Right,
thing.
totally.
But yeah.
And sort of by contrast, a weird thing I noticed this time round, like, was with the unit captain, I think Arisa Magamba or something she's called, isn't she?
Yeah.
She like nearly flat out betrays the Doctor, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does, doesn't she?
And then at the end, it's just like all fine, like she's just there smiling. And
they're treating each other like
until we meet again, Doctor. That sort of stuff.
And then she's like, I won't tell you that I did try and kill you.
Yeah, bizarre.
It's a shame that she's not come back as well, because I think she's a really great character. She was
great
great in Turn Left.
character, yeah.
And she's got this really good kind of persona to her.
Yeah,
this
command,
kind of,
and authority.
Yeah. She's a great actress as well. I think she played Hermione on stage for Cursed Child. So yeah, she's a great actress. I'd love to see her come back again in some form. I think she was fantastic in it. Really good unit character.
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah,
it's
love
nice to
all
have
the
a
unit
final hurrah for unit in
the Davies era.
It's
Yeah,
just nice to
yeah,
do.
because it was a kind of a biggish part of that. It kind of was always
building, wasn't it?
Always there in the background. Martha was part of it, and you've got the Harriet Jones stuff that was it sort of introduced it with. So it was nice to have that final thing. I think Davies must have been like, let's have him back one more time.
Box,
exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. So that was really good. I loved all the unit stuff. I thought the unit was just great, and just such a great way to integrate it as well. The Doctor's no longer here, so that's unit obviously the ones that take charge. Yeah.
And on the subject of the tunnel as well, there was a moment, because obviously the tunnel, which again would have gone over my head at the time, is a real life tunnel down in Cardiff Bay, which I think I've actually been driven through when I was down in Cardiff.
Probably without even knowing at some point, like just God, oh my God,
yeah. I think they used it in Spyfall as well for the car chase, maybe. But anyway, or a similar area. But an interesting thing is that there's one moment in this story where it like flashes up on a screen in the unit laboratory with a location in London, like with the Thames. And so I was looking at that on the map to find out where the real life counterparts would be. And I believe it's the Blackfriars Underpass in London.
Now I recognise that name.
The Blackfriars Bridge, quite close to the Tate where we were.
Okay.
When we went.
Yeah.
So on the other side, like sort of.
It's not the Remembrance of the Daleks Bridge, is it?
No, it's like there's a bit under. Yeah, like goes underground for a little bit. I don't think it's actually as long as the tunnel in this, but it's like a sort of little mini tunnel, not too far from St Paul's and stuff.
Sure.
I'll put up a thing maybe on about it now. But that was just interesting as well, because I always love that, like to look up where these things actually would be located in universe,
Yeah, and it's such a great scene as well involving the bus, because it's one of those things I love about Doctor Who when it picks something like that, like a mundane thing like just driving through a tunnel.
Absolutely.
And as a kid, after watching that episode, for weeks afterwards, we were going through tunnels when we were driving, and I was like, oh my God, we're going to go through a wormhole. I thought that was really nice. I love the kind of close to home thing that just makes kids feel like they can be a part of this world. I love that. Yeah.
And so back to Christina as well. It's sort of like it sort of gives off vibes of like, because obviously she's about to get caught, and it's this sort of like last ditch attempt for her, or sort of like a near death experience type thing. I guess like she gets to go on this little adventure before she gets caught, which again is something they could have played into a bit more. I think.
Like she's being given a second chance in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Second chance. That's it, isn't it? Yeah. She gets a second chance.
I'm sure it's explored in Big Finish's two box sets. But I don't think I'm gonna bother with those personally. The Tritivores, we can mention them very quickly.
Yeah.
A great a very Davies era monster. We often
They
have
are, aren't they? Like a boiler suit with
a
prosthetic head and
boiler
hands,
suited
you know,
monster.
that's
You
the
know,
thing, isn't it?
very similar to like the Hath. You know,
Hath.
a creature that just speaks
Yeah.
in noises, which I think is great for Doctor Who, because you know we're meeting these aliens, and I know there's the whole TARDIS translation matrix and things, but not every monster is like a Silurian or an Ice Warrior.
Yeah.
Some of them just do speak in animalistic ways, and I really like that. And I love the design. I think great prosthetic. Not
I was
prosthetic. It's
noticing,
kind of
like
the
in the
latex
background when
mask,
there's little bits on their faces, sort of
you
just
see
moving about.
the
And
sort of
it's
the
amazing.
weird gunk
yeah.
inside the mouth, which is lovely. There's a picture of it here.
Yeah.
Oh, so they announced the monster. I didn't know they announced the monster before we'd even seen it.
Yeah, I think there was like a photo of like one of them in the desert with its gun pointing out. Like that came out before before broadcast. I think.
And the introductory. I mean, obviously they keep the sort of design hidden for a bit, and then the first shot you see of it is like a silhouetted image of it, and it sort of crash zooms in on it. Yeah. And I was like, that is great, sort of Hammer horror-esque image.
Yeah,
you know,
so
that monster on the hill line.
Yeah.
So I loved that, and I loved the kind of another a bit like the Jadoon. You know, have that sort of the Bosco photo, the way the Doctor kind of does that in Stolen Earth.
Yeah.
You've got that, the Doctor doing it here as well.
Yeah.
Of, you know, the... It's like kids can... yeah, thank you very much. I speak Tragicable.
Yeah.
Kids can kind of imitate that in the playground and things like that. I love that. I love that imitable kind of behaviour. I thought that was great. You know, got rid of very quickly... But for obvious reasons, like, you can't bring them back to Earth. What's going to happen when they get on the bus and just, you know... And as the Doctor's just like, all right, just hop in the TARDIS, we'll find you somewhere else to go. But I thought from what involvement they had, they were great, and a travesty that we didn't get a figure of them.
Yeah, on some of the theme, like some of the design of this episode, I was saying to you... I can't remember if it was beforehand or in the video earlier on, but like about the Stingrays... I remember them being very prominent in the first trailer for this story, and that sort of shot where one sort of they're like flying about and one sort of heads straight for the camera. And similar thing as well with when the Doctor and Christine are in the Triforce ship and looking at the sort of CGI images of what San Helios, the planet, used to look like, sort of cities and things.
Yeah.
That is so nostalgic for me as well. Like, I don't know why, but it's
what the shot of the
of all the towers and the bridges and stuff. And I want to go back and screenshot that now because that I love
great
that.
CGI,
little snatches, you know, little brief glimpses.
And so clever as well. You know, that kind of reveal moment of we're in the city. You know, it's like
it keeps
It's almost a very Doctor Who thing. It's like the Douglas Adams invisible spaceship thing. It's like we're on an alien planet, but it's been eaten, so it's just sand. It's just a desert. Again, another very kind of, you know, kid friendly idea of, oh my god, I'm not actually on the beach. This is actually a civilization that's been eaten by stingrays. So yeah, no, I thought that was a really nice kind of aspect to it, and the stingrays are a very threatening monster. Again, one of those kind of monsters that's just you know, going for it, and it's got no sort of. It's an animal, really. It's not it's not a villain. Yeah, it's just a thing that just does it, and this whole idea of it just churning these wormholes.
It's a great idea.
Daniel Kaluuya was someone else I wanted to mention as well. He's done all right for himself since this episode.
Yeah, in fact,
Oscar winner. You know,
I'm pretty sure in this the issues of Doctor Who magazine, Doctor Adventures here that accompany this special, but on the back page, there we go. He did an interview.
Look at him, yeah. Just like an afterthought interview.
Yeah, the quote's like, I nearly snogged the Doctor's daughter or something. I think he was nearly the guard in Doctor's Daughter who
wow.
in Presence January, I think. Yes, that's where that comes from.
But it's just, isn't it amazing? I find it so bizarre seeing these performers in these old episodes of usually Davies era episodes. And now they're these big stars, you know, Oscar nominated, you know, Andrew Garfield's a big one in Daleks in Manhattan, or Olivia Colman, you know, just in a throwaway role in the
in the background.
And look at her now. Yeah. She, you know. So I thought, and he was great as well. Did a very good job with the little part he had. I think he was probably the best of the characters on the bus.
Okay, yeah.
I also just wanted to say as well about the 10th Doctor.
Okay.
It's been a while since I've properly watched a Tennant story, just because I've been watching, you know, all sorts left, right and centre. But it takes just watching an episode to remember why he's my favourite Doctor. Like, he just embodies the Doctor. He's like Tom Baker, you know,
I did get that feeling, watching it as well.
He
He
is the
very
Doctor.
definitively Doctor Who, and
Yeah.
particularly certain shots, like I think it's like a close up of his face when they arrive, like when the
And
bus
it's
is on
the
the planet,
slow
sort of like
zoom,
zooms out.
yeah.
It's like his face there and his features and stuff.
Very
and it's just
distinctive.
so Doctor Who, you know.
Yeah,
It just is.
a charisma
In the
machine.
same way that Tom Baker is, like you say, yeah.
Just
absolutely.
charismatic, magnetic on screen. Like, there isn't a second when Tennant isn't on screen that you're not, like, invested in what he's doing. And also, you kind of, you know, the love of gadgets as well, you know, the whole little dish going around and all that sort of stuff. Very much, you know, it's a thing that goes
absolutely.
ding.
Absolutely.
And kind of really, in this episode, embodying the fact that he is probably, alongside Davison, which is probably why I love those two Doctors so much, he is the most human of the Doctors, because that scene when he kind of says, you know, what are you all doing when you go home? What's happening when you go home today?
Good.
You know,
Very
hang on
nice.
to that, because this planet's nothing compared to all those things waiting at home for you.
Very, very RTD as well.
Very
isn't it?
RTD, very RTD.
Very RTD.
But very 10th Doctor.
Very
Like,
10th
I
Doctor.
can't imagine... I think I imagine, you know, the 11th Doctor just sort of fumbling that and ends up accidentally offending someone. And Capaldi, I can imagine he would just be a bit more ruthless about it.
Oh gosh, I mean, yeah.
And I think Jodie would just bring out a party game and say, let's just have a bit of fun. But I think the 10th Doctor really gets in.
Okay.
You know, he knows these you know, about humanity. Which is a great bit of character. I think the Davies era just has that story to it, how the 9th Doctor starts very detached from humanity.
Yeah.
And obviously Rose is the one who influences the 10th Doctor to become more involved in that. And that's why the 10th Doctor is this more human character who knows about them and everything like that. So, I love
I
that.
like how that thread runs through, particularly these specials and towards the end of series 4 as well, of, you know, how he's lost all these people, and like, you get it with the next Doctor, with Jackson at the end, where he's sort of talking about the companions he's lost, and then similar sort of thing here, where he refuses to take Christina on board, and then obviously it comes to a head and more smart.
But
so
very,
that sort
very
of
good.
thread running through.
Yeah, really good thread. And then you're right, that whole thread running through the specials specifically is really good.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And obviously we've got the final sort of beat involving his character with is it Carmen?
Of course, yeah.
He will knock 4 times.
Ending, whatever. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'm getting mixed up. Yeah.
Did she say his song is ending soon as well?
I can't even remember. Possibly. She definitely says it is returning, because that was the first reference to Gallifrey, I think.
Yes,
like,
yeah.
It is returning.
Yeah.
Yes, and he will knock 4 times.
He
You're
will
right there,
knock.
actually. That was the first time we'd heard that, I think.
And the you know, the fan theories. I remember that being all over Doctor Who Adventures. As soon as the episode had come out, the next issue, it was like, what's all this about? Ood Sigma said this in that episode. You know, let's all join the dots. Who's coming back?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's the Master. But you know, it's like, I love the speculation at the time of, you know, what's going to go down, what's going to happen. I reckon it's one of those things in Doctor Who Adventure, they used to have like a little predictions page, almost. It's like, who do you think's coming back?
Theories and stuff.
What do you think's going to happen? So I wonder if I've got my original thing of my ideas of what was...
You'd filled in, yeah. I'm sure I did similar things myself. I don't know where they are these days, but like little bits of A4 paper that I scribbled on with a list of what it could be and all that sort of stuff. Because I did sort of guess that, well, he will knock 4 times could refer to the heartbeat of a Time Lord. I remember sort of being quite pleased with myself when, like...
Was it made a big thing in Sound of Drums? I can't remember.
I can't remember myself, to be honest. But no, like, I remember at the end of End of Time Part 1, there's the trailer for the second half of the story, and like Rassilon at the end, like the heartbeat of a Time Lord. Like, oh yes, I've got it. And obviously I hadn't quite got it, but sort of the rhythm of the Doctor Who theme and all that sort of stuff.
It makes total sense, that whole double heartbeat thing.
It does,
yeah.
So
clever.
Absolutely, I remember that being a big thing. You know,
it felt
the
like
interim between specials.
It was leading to something massive. Like, you had that ending, and I remember that feeling inside of me, like that sort of, oh my god, this is going to be epic. Like when we get to this finale, wow, like shit's going to hit the fan. this is good.
Yeah. And of course, actually, just to finish off as well, I mean, the very last thing in this episode, the trailer for Waters of Mars.
Oh,
I remember seeing that going out and just, it's so
chilling.
Yeah, sends shivers down your spine.
So was that Halloween special?
It was like November. It was
so
like
it wasn't Halloween.
No, I think it was conceived as like a sort of
a Halloween.
Originally, it was like a Christmas special, and thought, we'll do it like the week before End of Time, and they sort of separated them by a month.
Yeah,
close to broadcast.
Like, let's not traumatise children on Christmas Day.
But
because they were going to just pop a Christmas tree in the background, weren't they?
Yeah, but no, you're right. It was fairly close to Halloween.
Yeah.
But that's for another time, maybe. Maybe
That is for
we'll do
another
that
time.
one other day. But
Because being honest, if like just bring it back round to all the specials in general, like
Mm.
we were saying at the start, it's not one that you watch much. When you think of the specials, like you've got a reason to go back and watch the next Doctor. It's a Christmas one, you know, you watch it every Christmas or whatever. You've got a reason to watch End of Time. It's a regeneration story. You've got a reason to watch Waters of Mars. It's bloody great.
Yeah.
But Planet of the Dead, you don't necessarily have that Easter tradition of going back and watching it.
No, not so much.
And it's kind of renowned as. I mean, I really enjoyed it. Oh, it was great.
I think it's just good fun. You know, it's a good sort of Easter holiday special.
I think it lulls in the middle. You know, like it's got a great opening. Act 2's a bit slow.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when they go to the ship and stuff.
The Tritivore ship, I think, could have been a bit
it wasn't
shorter.
quite as bad like when I was actually watching it as I remembered, but I do remember there being sort of a lull there in the middle.
Yeah,
where it
you're right.
Loses a bit of momentum, perhaps.
Nowhere near as boring as I remember. Yeah, I think it could have been a really nice, tight 45-minute story.
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting as well. We'll get on to this when we talk about Legend of the Sea Devils, but obviously I suppose you've seen that episode is 47 minutes long.
Oh yeah, it is.
And there's been a bit of hoo-ha about that online and stuff, and we'll talk about where we sit on that, I suppose, later on, but or in another video. But it was interesting going into this and thinking to myself, you know, this is an hour long, and that seemed quite. I don't know why, but that seemed quite long to me somehow. That this was just, I suppose, just an hour of them like traipsing around the desert and the spaceship and stuff. And it didn't quite feel as long when I was actually watching it, but
it almost doesn't feel like worthy of a special in terms of
I guess
what
it's
it's
like more
doing.
of a sort of standard episode type affair, isn't it?
You can imagine this being in series 4, you know, or something like that. It's sort of midnight, but not as intense.
You know,
it's one that I think could really suit the 45-minute format, but just for an hour.
This is a sort of like disaster movie thing, isn't it? Like, a bit like Voyage of the Damned.
Yeah.
But with, I mean, it's still got some set pieces, but with fewer set pieces.
And with that sort of British aspect of it's a London bus.
Yeah.
So it works. I think it's good. I think give it another go, definitely. But I mean,
I think it was nice for me,
why it's not favourite
because I hadn't seen it for quite so long. It was nice to go back and revisit it.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those stories that, like I say, I hadn't picked up on all the references in the past, or I don't know the script word for word or anything. It's not one of those stories. So like, it is quite nice actually the way that's worked out.
Because you forget about a lot of
you do
aspects
forget,
of it, don't you?
absolutely.
Like
little things go over your head. Or
little
whatever.
lines and things like that. Yeah, like references or just most of the 10th Doctor, like that the Buckingham Palace line I found very nice. You know, like, she doesn't mind. Like that. It's just like little things like that. I thought were really, really kind of cute. So it was good.
So yeah, definitely go and give it a revisit as we prepare for this year's Easter special, which of course we'll be talking about in 1 or 2 videos time. Keep your eye out on both our channels. But yeah, please give us a like if you've enjoyed this. Please subscribe to both of us if you haven't already. And we'll see you again soon for some more Easter Doctor Who collabs. So yeah, bye bye.
Bye bye.